Story time, story time, story time again. Story time, story time, story time again.
Hi, welcome to San Bruno Library presents Once Upon a Time, the cable story time of the San Bruno Library. My name is Barbara and I'm the children's librarian at the library, and I'm here to share some stories with you for the next half hour. So let's get started. Are you ready? You're going to sing our starting song with me? We're glad you're here today. We're glad you're here today. Hi-ho the merry-o, we're glad you're here today. Very good, and I am glad you're here today. Today I have some stories, some fun stories, silly stories about outer space. The first one I'm going to read to you is called The Man on the Moon, A Day in the Life of Bob by Simon Bartram. So let's find out what Bob's day is like. This is Bob. Perhaps you've heard of him. You may know him better as the Man on the Moon. There he is. This is where Bob lives. Every morning he gets up at 6 o'clock. He has a cup of tea and 2 eggs for breakfast before leaving for the rocket launch pad. On the way, he stops to buy a newspaper and some chocolate toffees. He's on his way to work on the moon. By 8 o'clock, Bob arrives at the launch pad, changes into his special Man on the Moon suit, and boards his fantastic rocket ship. He must make sure he leaves by 9:15, otherwise he wouldn't make it to the moon by 9. On the way, he reads the newspaper and does the crossword. Bob starts work. His job as Man on the Moon is very important. He has to keep the moon clean and tidy. Quite often, astronauts drop sweet packets and cans. Some people say that aliens are responsible for much of the rubbish, but Bob knows that's not true. There's no such thing as aliens. Is there? By 12:30, it's time to eat. Bob goes to his rocket ship to fetch his lunchbox. This usually contains 2 sandwiches, either cheese or peanut butter, an apple, and some chocolate-covered nuts. Sometimes he meets his friends for a picnic. His 2 best friends are Billy, the man on Mars, and Sam, the man on Saturn. They talk about the stars and tell jokes. After lunch, tourist spaceships start arriving from Earth. It is part of Bob's job to entertain them and give them something to photograph. So he does somersaults, handstands, and especially high moon jumps. Sometimes he performs for as long as 2 hours, and he is left quite out of breath. Occasionally, the tourist spaceships will land on the moon. When they do, Bob gives them a guided tour and a speech. He tells them lots of facts, such as how many craters the moon has or how long it takes to walk around it on stilts. Sometimes people ask him about aliens, and Bob explains patiently that there aren't any. Afterwards, Bob opens a small souvenir stand selling postcards, pencils, mugs, and small plastic moon models. By 4:30, all visitors must leave the moon. Bob looks around to see that everyone has left. He checks inside any big craters to see if anyone has fallen in, but there's never anyone there. Do you see someone there? The working day is nearly over. It's time to check that everything is in order before leaving for the night. Bob packs away his equipment and any unsold souvenirs into his rocket. He switches on the moon's nightlight before jetting off towards Earth. By this time he is very tired, but he still has to keep his wits about him while flying the rocket. As he reaches Earth, it's about 5 o'clock. The rush hour is in full swing with everyone leaving work and going home, just like Bob. At home, Bob is just like anyone else. First, he has a long bath. Moon work can make you very grubby, as sometimes the dust can get inside your suit. Then he goes to bed with a mug of cocoa. He sleeps soundly, bathed in moonbeams, very happy to be the man on the moon. And aliens? Well, Bob would know if there are any. Wouldn't he? And that's the story of the man on the moon. And I have another story here about Bob. We just got this in. This is a brand new one. Bob's Best Ever Friend, also by Simon Bartram. It was a Tuesday morning in space, and nothing much was happening. Since there were no space tourists visiting the moon that day, Bob, the man on the moon, had finished all of his moon work by 10 o'clock. Bob's friends, Billy and Sam, were away on a trip to Pluto, visiting a most exciting pet show. They hoped to see some alien animals there, but Bob thought they'd be disappointed. After all, everyone knows there's no such thing as aliens, especially not alien animals. With nobody to talk to, Bob felt a little glum, so he decided to go for a bounce on his bouncy castle. But bouncing without a friend just wasn't as fun. Quite frankly, Bob was a bit lonely. To cheer himself up, Bob went for a quick spin around the universe in his rocket. Nothing much was happening there either. Unfortunately, most of the planets were closed for the winter, so Bob stopped off on a passing asteroid to enjoy a nice cup of tea and a corned beef sandwich for lunch. The view was beautiful. It was just a shame that he had no one to share it with. What I need, Bob said to himself, is a best ever friend, a chum, someone to help with the intergalactic missions and jigsaw puzzles, a pal who will always be by my side. But where on earth could he find a friend like that? For the rest of the day, Bob pondered his problem until it was time to return to Earth for a nice supper of fish sticks and peas. As a Tuesday treat, he allowed himself to eat in front of the TV. The newscaster was warning that a troublesome asteroid had been causing havoc elsewhere in the solar system and was now in danger of crashing into Earth. Bob was glued to the screen. He wished he had someone to watch the program with. It was so exciting. As he sipped his cocoa in bed, Bob decided he would start looking for a best ever friend tomorrow morning. There's the asteroid. The next day, Bob didn't have to start work until that evening, so after some early jumping jacks in the backyard, he bicycled into town to do some errands and see if he could find his best ever friend. First, he had a quick peek around the modern art gallery. Then he bought 2 small batteries to power his rocket, a fancy pair of moon-patterned underpants on sale for half price, and a newspaper, hot off the press. The streets were busier than ever. Bob wondered how on earth anyone could hope to find a best ever friend in a place like this. After his shopping, Bob remembered that Clive and Keith, his cousin Dougal's goldfish, had been looking rather hungry that morning. Bob was looking after them for a day or two while Dougal was away. So Bob headed to the local pet shop. Cats, rats, and bats. While he was looking for some squishy, delishy fish food, 59 cents, a strange notion popped into Bob's head. Perhaps his best ever friend could be a pet. Bob looked around at all the animals, but he couldn't see anything that looked like a best ever friend. To tell you the truth, some of the animals looked a little odd to him. "Oh, well," sighed Bob to himself, "you can't rush these things." His thoughts were interrupted by the chimes of the town clock. It was 4:30. Time for tea. The best tea in town was served at the Moon Soup Pit Stop Cafe. Bob felt quite at home among the moon pictures and decorations, although sometimes he did call it the Moon Stop Pit Soup Cafe by mistake. Bob wondered if anyone would recognize the world-famous man on the moon and sit with him, but no one did, so Bob sat quietly and nibbled his favorite moon soup crater cake by himself. He knew it was really just a donut, but it was tip-top tasty all the same. It was a shame there was no time for seconds, but night was falling, and Bob had a job to do. The moon was waiting. And take a look at this. It says Moon Tours with Bob. Depart 5:50 p.m. sharp. Includes free moon cake for $9.99. We're going to take a little break right now, and then when we come back, you can find out how Bob finds his new pet.
Look and wave. It's not just for making friends, it's for saving lives. Brought to you by the San Bruno Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee and San Bruno Cable TV. Come on.
Come on, man, that's not cool. Pick that up.
Peer pressure works. Put the trash in the can.
Oh, 先生你好，歡迎光臨，等等先。誒，唔該晒。
Brandon.
I'm Smith.
And I'm Joe.
And we're conducting an experiment to see if people like trash in their homes.
Yeah? Hello, sir. Please step back.
What you... Wait, hold on a second. Whoa! What? Who are you guys?
Aha! Judging from your reaction, it looks like you don't like trash in your home.
No, of course not, but...
Sir, this is yours. We saw you dump it out of your car on the freeway.
Oh, see, I was
Is California your home, sir?
Obviously.
And you don't like trash in your home.
No, of course
Then why
not.
would you trash California?
Don't trash California.
Got a sports lover in the house? Check out all the different sports programming available on San Bruno Cable. ESPN, Comcast Sportsnet, golf and tennis channels, college sports, professional soccer, football, hockey, and more. And if you have a high-definition television, upgrade to HD for the most crystal clear, sharp images available on TV today. And thank you for choosing San Bruno Municipal Cable Television for your cable TV, internet, and digital phone services. Wouldn't it be nice if a maid would clean up after us? Think of it as the maid's day off. Please clean up after yourself. Keep San Bruno clean.
Welcome back. So we're reading Bob's Best Ever Friend, and remember, Bob just had his donut and he's ready to go off to work. Let's find out what happens. Bob pedaled as fast as he could to the rocket launch pad, and as a super fast flash changed into his man on the moon suit. He needed to reach the moon before the first moon tourist spaceship arrived. There were snacks and entertainments to prepare. After he clambered aboard and flicked lots of switches, his rocket began to rumble and Bob counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lift off! By 5:45, he was zooming towards the golden moon, and by 6 o'clock, he was there. Bob welcomed the tourists with a free moon cake and performed his thrilling moon-themed variety show. Then everyone went home happy. Everyone, that is, except Bob, who was once again alone. Quietly, he packed away his props and began his weekly crater count. And that's when it happened. There, popping out of crater 204, was a little furry tail. What could it be? The closer Bob got to it, the faster the tail wagged, and then, as if by magic, something amazing shot out of the crater. No one in the whole universe would have expected to see what Bob saw at that moment. It was a dog, the most smiley, springy dog Bob had ever seen. He had no idea where it had come from or how it had gotten there, but he didn't care. He didn't even care that it looked a little odd. All Bob knew was that he had finally found his best ever friend. It was as if it had been written in the stars. Bob named his dog Barry. And each day they would go to the moon and they would run and leap and play with their friends. Except, of course, on Tuesdays. On Tuesdays they would bounce and bounce and bounce. The end. So that's how Bob found his best ever friend. For my next story, I have Company's Coming. So this is a story that happens on Earth, but it's about something from outer space. This is by Arthur Yorinks and pictures by David Small. Let's find out who the company is. On the day, Shirley had invited all of her relatives to dinner, and Mo, her husband, was pleasantly tinkering in the yard. A flying saucer quietly landed next to their tool shed. Mo was surprised. "Shirley!" he yelled. Shirley joined Mo on the patio. "Mo, you had to buy that barbecue. It's too big," she complained. "Cheryl, it's not a barbecue," Mo said. Suddenly, a small hatch on the saucer opened, and out walked 2 visitors from outer space. "Greetings," they spoke in English. "We come in peace. Do you have a bathroom?" Stunned, Shirley replied, "Down the hall and to the left." The foreigners nodded graciously and walked into the house. "How could you let them into our house?" Mo was upset. "Did you see those helmets? Those ray guns? They'll vaporize us!" Mo was very upset. "Shh, they're coming," Shirley whispered. "Stay calm. Be polite. Maybe we can make friends with them." "What a lovely house you have," the strangers commented. "What do you call this place?" "Belmore," Shirley politely answered. The visitors nodded. "We're from away, far away, and we have been traveling for years on our way to the next galaxy." "How about a sandwich? You must be hungry," Shirley nervously interrupted. "Would you like to stay for dinner?" "Gee," they replied, "we'd love to. We'll return at 6 o'clock. The spacemen went back to their ship and flew off. Mo and Shirley ran into the house. "Are you crazy? The cousins are coming tonight. Why did you invite them for dinner? Mo asked. They'll atomize us. Belmore, the whole earth is doomed, I tell you. Mo was hysterical. Mo, take it easy. They look nice, like nice boys, Shirley said. Come, help me make the potato salad. But Mo had other thoughts. Saying he had to wash his hands, he went upstairs and called the FBI. The FBI called the Pentagon, and the Pentagon called the Army, the Air Force, and the Marines. At 5:45, the house was surrounded. Inside, the cousins sat, panicked. Act natural, Shirley told her relatives. Be nice so they look a little different. I'm sure they're friendly, she said as she served the appetizers. Don't worry, Mo added. If those aliens make one false move, they've had it. So relax. Mo heard a humming and ran to the window. They're here, he yelled. The doorbell rang. Everyone froze. Cousin Etta fainted. I'll get it, Shirley called. She went to the door. Hello, come right in. She greeted the men from outer space. They were carrying a box. How about a drink? Some soda? Are you tired? It's getting late. If you leave now, you'll just miss the traffic. Mo tried to usher them out. So, guys, what's new? Have you been to Venus this year? I hear it's hot in the summer. Cousin Sheldon, the loud mouth, asked. The spacemen sat. We're on our way to check out a new planet. Our population has grown so quickly we must branch out and find new places to live. Know what I mean? Sure, we know what you mean, Mo blurted out. An invasion! We're doomed! He whispered to Cousin Harriet. Dinner! Shirley called. Oh, please, before dinner, we have something for you. It'll knock you out. The visitors presented their box. It's a bomb! It's gas! It's a laser! Etta yelled and then fainted again. Thunk! Soldiers burst into the house. Tanks pointed their guns. Shirley gingerly began to unwrap the gift. We weren't sure if you had one of these, the men started to say. Shirley interrupted. It's a... The cousins were paralyzed. It's a... Shirley continued. Mo was sweating from head to foot. Oh! Shirley blurted. Etta, Mo, and Sheldon fainted. It's a blender, Shirley declared, and we don't even have one. We thought you'd like it, and it was on sale, the spacemen beamed. Shirley went over and kissed them both. Let's eat, she said. Luckily, Shirley had made extra spaghetti and meatballs. The cousins, the soldiers, the pilots, the Marines, the FBI men, everyone sat down and had a delicious meal from soup to nuts. And that is the story of Companies Coming. I want to tell you about this next book. We don't have time to read it today, but it's called Companies Going, and it's the sequel. That means the next book in the series after Companies Coming. You can get this book at the San Bruno Library and read it for yourself. So that's called Companies Going. I hope you'll come in and see us and check it out. The next book I want to share with you is a true book. It's called My Light, and it's about the sun by Molly Bang. When you see the city lights at night, they look like stars have fallen down to earth. Those lights are starlight, my light. I am your sun, a golden star. You see my radiance as light. Each day I warm your land and water. Tiny drops of warm water rise and form clouds. The clouds cool down. My energy falls in rain. The water flows from streams to rivers, carrying my energy down, down, down. A dam! You humans stop the flow. My energy is trapped. Wish! Some water shoots down tunnels to giant turbines. Whoosh! The water spins the turbines around and around. It spins my energy to generators which make electricity. Now my energy is in the electricity. It flows away in copper wires. The wires hum. Electricity flows, pulsing, pushing my energy out to your towns and cities. Each day I shine on earth and warm the air. The warm air rises. Cooler air pours in and makes the wind. Swish, swoosh. The wind pushes blades of turbines round and round, spinning my energy to generators which make electricity. Electricity pours into copper wires and flows out to your towns and cities. Green plants catch my light and use my energy to help build leaves and stems. My energy builds each bush and flower, reed and cactus, fruit and tree. My light fuels all the plants on earth. Some of the plants are eaten. My energy flows to everything that eats them. Other plants die and are buried. Some were buried millions and millions of years ago and turned to coal. Then my energy stayed deep underground, locked inside of the coal. Crunch! Roar! Now you humans dig up the coal. You haul it out and burn it. The fire heats water into steam. Whoosh! The steam shoots against giant turbines, which spin round and round. They send my energy to generators, which make electricity. From coal-fired power plants, electricity flows in copper wires out to your towns and cities. My light falls on solar cells and charges their electrons. No turbines, no generators. Electricity streams across the cells, which pour it into copper wires. Electricity flows to the building below. When darkness falls, you turn a switch. From rushing wind and water, from burning coal, from silent solar cells, you let my energy into your room. Energy lights the night. Inside a light bulb, a wire grows hot. It glows. Inside a fluorescent tube, gas is energized. It glows. When you turn on lights at night, they look like stars have fallen down to earth. Those lights are energy from me, your golden star, caught and transformed by your earth and by yourselves. For a moment, my light illuminates your towns and cities. And that is My Light by Molly Bang. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really look forward to seeing you at the San Bruno Library. So come and say hello to us there. We'll see you then. Bye.
So sit me down and let the spell begin. I'll find myself in story time again. Story time, story